Yo, what up? I am fresh out the shower and I'm ready to put some mustard on it, dude. Happy Christmas Eve. Thank you for joining me for this mid afternoon situation. I apologize in advance, my throat is very scratchy, so I'm going to do my very best. We're just going to get on with it because I know probably everyone's got something festive to go and do after this. But why not muster up some Rohan real quick, huh? So, we're going on with Book 5, Chapter 3, The Dijon Muster of Rohan. Yo, what up, what up, what up? Thank y'all for being here. So pleased to see you. And Merry Crimbus. All right, Chapter 3, The Muster of Rohan. Woo! Oh, Anna's here. Safi's here. Sting's here. Simon's here. I love it. Thank y'all. And thank you for joining me early today. I appreciate it. Because Mama's got to go get drunk after this. All right. Now, all roads were running together to the east to meet the coming of war and the onset of the shadow. And even as Pippin stood at the great gate of the city and saw the prince of Dol Amroth ride in with his banners, the king of Rohan came down out of the hills. Day was waning. In the last rays of the sun, the riders cast long, pointed shadows that went on before them. Darkness had already crept beneath the murmuring fir woods that clothed the steep mountain sides. The king rode now slowly at the end of the day. Presently, the path turned round a huge bare shoulder of rock and plunged into the gloom of soft sighing trees. Down, down they went in a long winding file. When at last they came to the bottom of the gorge, they found that evening had fallen in the deep places. The sun was gone. Twilight lay upon the waterfalls. All day, far below them, a leaping stream had run down from the high pass behind, cleaving its narrow way between pine-clad walls, and now through a stony gate it flowed out and passed into a wider vale. The riders followed it, and suddenly Harrowdale lay before them, loud with the noise of waters in the evening. There the white snowbourn, joined by the lesser stream, went rushing, fuming on the stones, down to Edoras and the green hills and the plains. Away to the right, at the head of the great dale, the mighty Starkhorn loomed up above its vast buttresses swathed in cloud, but its jagged peak, clothed in everlasting snow, gleamed far above the world, blue-shadowed upon the east, red-stained by the sunset in the west. God, I love a little bit of environmental description. Come on. Mary looked out in wonder upon the strange country, of which he'd heard many tales upon their long road. It was a skyless world in which his eye, through dim gulfs of shadowy air, saw only ever-mounting slopes, great walls of stone behind great walls, and frowning precipices wreathed with mist. He sat for a moment, half dreaming, listening to the noise of water, the whisper of dark trees, the crack of stone, and the vast waiting silence that brooded behind all sound. He loved mountains, or he had loved the thought of them, marching on the edge of stories brought from far away. But now he was borne down by the insupportable weight of Middle Earth. He longed to shut out the immensity in a quiet room by a fire. He was very tired, for though they had ridden slowly, they had ridden with very little rest. Hour after hour, for nearly 3 weary days, he had jogged up and down, over passes and through long dales, and across many streams. Sometimes, where the way was broader, he had ridden at the king's side, not noticing that many of the riders smiled to see the two together, the hobbit on his little shaggy gray pony, and the Lord of Rohan on his great white horse. Cute. Then he had talked to Theoden, telling him about his home and the doings of the Shire folk, or listening in turn to tales of the Mark and its mighty men of old. But most of the time, especially on this last day, Merry had ridden by himself just behind the king, saying nothing and trying to understand the slow, sonorous speech of Rohan that he heard the men behind him using. It was a language in which there seemed to be many words that he knew, though spoken more richly and strongly than in the Shire, yet he could not piece the words together. At times, some rider would lift up his clear voice in stirring song, and Merry felt his heart leap, though he did not know what it was about. All the same, he had been lonely, and never more so than now at the day's end. He wondered where in all this strange world Pippin had got to, and what would become of Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli. Then, suddenly, like a cold touch on his heart, he thought of Frodo and Sam. I am forgetting them, he said to himself reproachfully, and yet they are more important than all the rest of us, and I came to help them, but now they must be hundreds of miles away if they are still alive. He shivered. Oof. I read a lot of this in my video about Mary, but like these themes are leaping out at me, dude. He's so preoccupied. It's such a bummer. Harrowdale at last, said Eomer. Our journey is almost at an end. They halted. The paths out of the narrow gorge fell steeply. Only a glimpse, as through a tall window, could be seen of the great valley and the gloaming below. A single small light could be seen twinkling by the river. This journey is over, maybe, said Theoden, but I have far yet to go. Last night the moon was full, and in the morning I shall ride to Edoras to the gathering of the mark. But if you would take my counsel, said Eomer in a low voice, you would then return hither until the war is over, lost or won. Theoden smiled. Nay, my son, for so I will call you. Speak not. Nay, my son, for so I will call you. Speak not the soft words of worm tongue in my old ears. Fucking shade, dude. He drew himself up and looked back at the long line of his men fading into the dusk behind. Long years and the space of days it seems since I rode west, but never will I lean on a staff again. If the war is lost, what good will be my hiding in the hills? And if it is won, what grief will it be, even if I fall, spending my last strength? But we will leave this now. Tonight I will lie in the hold of Dunharrow. One evening of peace at least is left us. Let us ride on. I am so sorry about my voice, y'all. In the deepening dusk, they came down into the valley. Here the snowbourn flowed near to the western walls of the dale, and soon the path led them to a ford where the shallow waters murmured loudly on the stones. The ford was guarded. As the king approached, many men sprang up out of the shadow of the rocks, and when they saw the king, they cried with glad voices, Theoden King, the king of the mark returns. Then one blew a long call on a horn. It echoed in the valley. Ooh. Other horns answered it, and light shone out across the river. And suddenly there rose a great chorus of trumpets from high above, sounding from some hollow place, as it seemed, that gathered their notes into one voice and sent it rolling and beating on the walls of stone. Okay, good. I'm glad you didn't notice anything wrong. My lower register is super raspy right now, and I like to read in my lower register, so glad that you can't tell the difference, because I can feel it. So the king of the mark came back victorious out of the west to Dunharrow beneath the feet of the White Mountains. There he found the remaining strength of his people already assembled, for as soon as his coming was known, captains rode to meet him at the ford, bearing messages from Gandalf. Dunher, chieftain of the folk of Harrowdale, was at their head. At dawn 3 days ago, Lord, he said, Shadowfax came like a wind out of the west to Edoras, and Gandalf brought tidings of your victory to gladden our hearts. But he brought also word from you to hasten the gathering of the riders. And then came the winged shadow. The winged shadow, said Theoden. We saw it also, but that was in the dead of night before Gandalf left us. Thank you, Gimli. It's classic. I do have vocal fry really bad. And in one of my, so really quick aside, my Rings of Power video, fucking everyone got so mad at me for that one. And in the comments, I think someone said something about like how my monotone like betrays that I have no thoughts and like no feelings. Like, oh, babe, is that what that's betraying to you? Not that I just grew up in the Midwest and this is how I talk. Sorry about it. I'm not sorry at all. Ugh, ridiculous. Also, like the fact that my channel is called Tolkien Trash and people are like, yeah, this is trash. And I'm like, you figured it out. You figured it out. Go fucking listen to Corey Olsen if you want to be serious. I'm in the trash can. All right. We saw it also, but that was in the dead of night before Gandalf left us. Maybe, Lord, said Dunher, yet the same, or another like to it. A flying darkness in the shape of a monstrous bird passed over Edoras that morning, and all men were shaken with fear. for it stooped upon Meduseld, and as it came low, almost to the gable, there came a cry that stopped our hearts. Then it was that Gandalf counseled us not to assemble in the fields, but to meet you here in the valley under the mountains. And he bade us to kindle no more lights or fires than barest need asked. So it has been done. Gandalf spoke with great authority. We trust that it is as you would wish. Naught has been seen in Harrowdale of these evil things. Ho, ho, ho! Oh, oh, oh! Everybody here! I love to see it. It is well, said Theoden. I will ride now to the hold, and there before I go to rest I will meet the marshals and captains. Let them come to me as soon as may be. Also, just big ups to y'all for joining early today. Sting, I can't believe you're up at 6 a.m. Like, that's crazy. The road now led eastward straight across the valley, which was at that point little more than half a mile in width. Flats and meads of rough grass, gray now in the falling night, lay all about. But in front, on the far side of the dale, Mary saw a frowning wall, a last outlier of the great roots of the Starkhorn, cloven by the river in ages past. On all the level spaces there was a great concourse of men. Oh, there was great concourse of men, pardon me. Some thronged to the roadside, hailing the king and the riders from the west with glad cries, but stretching away into the distance behind there were ordered rows of tents and booths and lines of picketed horses and great store of arms and piled spears bristling like thickets of new planted trees. Now all the great assembly was falling into shadow, and yet, though the night chill blew cold from the heights, no lanterns glowed, no fires were lit. Watchmen heavily cloaked paced to and fro. Merry wondered how many riders there were. He could not guess their number in the gathering gloom, but it looked to him like a great army, many thousands strong. While he was peering from side to side, the king's party came up under the looming cliff on the eastern side of the valley, and there suddenly the path began to climb, and Merry looked up in amazement. He was on a road the like of which he had never seen before, a great work of men's hands and years beyond the reach of song. Years beyond the reach of song, because song is how they tell their history. Love it. Where am I? Upwards it wound, coiling like a snake, boring its way across the sheer slope of rock. Steep as a stair, it looped backwards and forwards as it climbed. Up it horses could walk, and wains could slowly be hauled. But no enemy could come that way, except out of the air if it was defended from above. At each turn of the road there were great standing stones that had been carved in the likeness of men, huge and clumsy-limbed, squatting cross-legged with their stumpy arms folded on fat bellies. Some in the wearing of the years had lost all features save the dark holes of their eyes that still stared sadly at the passers-by. The riders hardly glanced at them. The Pukul men, they called them, and heeded them little. No power or terror was left in them, but Mary gazed at them with wonder and a feeling almost of pity as they loomed up mournfully in the dusk. After a while he looked back and found that he had already climbed some hundreds of feet above the valley, but still far below he could dimly see a winding line of riders crossing the ford and filing along the road towards the camp prepared for them. Only the king and his guard were going up into the hold. I knew it. I knew you'd latch onto that. She's brought the wains up to us. At last the king's company came to a sharp brink, and the climbing road passed into a cutting between walls of rock, and so went up a short slope and out onto a wide upland. The Firian field, the Firian field men called it, a green mountain field of grass and heath high above the deep-delved courses of the Snowbourn, laid upon the lap of the great mountains behind, the Starkhorn southwards, and northwards the saw-tooth mast of Irin Saga, between which there faced the riders, the grim black wall of the Dwimmerberg, the haunted mountain rising out of steep slopes of somber pines. Dividing the upland into two, there marched a double line of unshaped standing stones that dwindled into the dusk and vanished in the trees. Those who dwared sorry, those who dared to follow that road came to the black Dimholt under Dwimmerberg. Then the menace of the pillar of stone and the yawning shadow of the forbidden door. I'm obsessed with the Pukomen. I love them. I cannot wait to get to the bit where we actually speak with the Druidane at the end of the book because I think it's so good. And we're going to get there. We're coming up on it real quick, fam. Such was the dark dun harrow, the work of long-forgotten men. Their name was lost, and no song or legend remembered it. For what purpose they had made this place, as a town or secret temple or tomb of kings, none in Rohan could say. Here they labored in the dark years, before ever a ship came to the western shores, or Gondor of the Dunedain was built. And now they had vanished, and only the old Pukelmen were left, still sitting at the turnings of the road. Mary stared at the lines of marching stones. They were worn and black. Some were leaning, some were fallen, some cracked or broken. They looked like rows of old and hungry teeth. He wondered what they could be, and he hoped that the king was not going to follow them into the darkness beyond. Then he saw that there were clusters of tents and booths on either side of the stony way, but these were not set near the trees and seemed rather to huddle away from them towards the brink of the cliff. The greater number were on the right, where the Firian field was wider, and on the left there was a smaller camp, in the midst of which stood a tall pavilion. From this side a rider now came out to meet them, and they turned from the road. As they drew near, Mary saw that the rider was a woman with long braided hair gleaming in the twilight, yet she wore a helm, and was clad to the waist like a warrior, and girded with a sword. "Hail, Lord of the Mark!" she cried. "My heart is glad at your returning." "And you, Eowyn," said Theoden, "is all well with you?" "All is well," she answered. Yet it seemed to Mary that her voice belied her, and he would have thought that she had been weeping, if that could be believed of one so stern of face. My RBF fucking sister, I love her. All is well. It was a weary road for the people to take, torn suddenly from their homes. There were hard words, for it is long since war has driven us from the green fields, but there have been no evil deeds. All is now ordered, as you see, and your lodging is prepared for you, for I have had full tidings of you and knew the hour of your coming. Really quick. Yeah, Thistle. Well, yeah, I'm down. Do you want to go swimming later? Let's go swimming. Let's dive in deep because I really like the Pukomen a lot, and I like kind of different ways of interpreting them. I really can't wait to get to that chapter. Um, Gamly, the thumbnails, thank you. They are my own photos. I appreciate it. I do like actually put some of my limited monotone brain power towards making the thumbnails match up as closely as they can. And most of it is because I live in Scotland and I walk my dog all the time. So I have a lot of beautiful nature photos. But yeah, every single one has been a photo that I have taken. So thank you for noticing. So Aragorn has come then, said Eomer. Is he still here? No, he is gone, said Eowyn, turning away and looking at the mountains dark against the east and south. Whither did he go? Asked Eomer. I do not know, she answered. He came at night and rode away yestermorn ere the sun had climbed over the mountain tops. He is gone. You are grieved, daughter, said Theoden. What has happened? Tell me, did he speak of that road? He pointed away along the darkening lines of stones toward the Dwimmerberg. Of the pass of the dead? Yes, lord, said Eowyn, and he has passed into the shadow from which none have returned. I could not dissuade him. He is gone. Then our paths are sundered, said Eomer. He is lost. We must ride without him, and our hope dwindles. Slowly they passed through the short heath and upland grass, speaking no more until they came to the king's pavilion. There Mary found that everything was made ready, and that he himself was not forgotten. A little tent had been pitched for him beside the king's lodging, and there he sat alone, while men passed to and fro, going in to the king and taking counsel with him. Night came on, and the half-seen heads of the mountains westward were crowned with stars, but the east was dark and blank. The marching stones faded slowly from sight, but still beyond them, blacker than the gloom, brooded the vast, crouching shadow of the Dormerberg. The paths of the dead, he muttered to himself. The paths of the dead? What does this all mean? They've all left me now. They've all gone to some doom. Gandalf and Pippin to war in the east, and Sam and Frodo to Mordor, and Strider and Legolas and Gimli to the paths of the dead. But my turn will come soon enough, I suppose. I wonder what they're all talking about, and what the king means to do, for I must go where he goes now. In the midst of these gloomy thoughts, he suddenly remembered that he was very hungry, and he got up to go and see if anyone else in the strange camp felt the same. But at that very moment a trumpet sounded, and a man came summoning him, the king's esquire, to wait at the king's board. See, this is part of why I find the anachronism of clocks to be very funny in the Shire, because hobbits clearly don't need them. They can tell the time by when they're hungry. In the inner part of the pavilion was a small space, curtained off with broidered hangings and strewn with skins, and there at a small table sat Theoden with Eomer and Eowyn and Dunhair, Lord of Harrowdale. Merry stood beside the king's stool and waited on him, till presently the old man, coming out of deep thought, turned to him and smiled. "Come, Master Meriadoc," he said, "you shall not stand. You shall sit beside me as long as I remain in my own lands, and lighten my heart with tales." Excuse me. Room was made for the hobbit at the king's left hand, but no one called for any tale. There was indeed little speech, and they ate and drank for the most part in silence, until at last, plucking up courage, Merry asked the question that was tormenting him. "Twice now, Lord, I have heard of the paths of the dead," he said. "What are they? And where has Strider, I mean the Lord Aragorn, where is he gone?" The king sighed, but no one answered, until at last Eomer spoke. "We do not know, and our hearts are heavy," he said. "But as for the paths of the dead, you have yourself walked on their first steps. Nay, I speak no words of ill omen. The road that we have climbed is the approach to the door, yonder in the dim hold. But what lies beyond, no man knows." "No man knows," said Theoden, "yet ancient legend, now seldom spoken, has somewhat to report. If these old tales speak true that have come down from father to son in the house of Errol, then the door under Dwemerberg leads to a secret way that goes beneath the mountain to some forgotten end. But none have ever ventured in to search its secrets, since Baldur, son of Brago, passed the door and was never seen among men again. A rash vow he spoke, as he drained the horn at that feast which Brago made to hallow new-built Meadowseld, and he came never to the high seat of which he was the heir. Folk say that dead men out of the dark years guard the way, and will suffer no living men to come to their hidden halls, but at whiles they may themselves be seen passing out of the door like shadows and down the stony road. Then the people of Harrowdale shut fast their doors, and shroud their windows, and are afraid. But the dead come seldom forth, and only at times of great unquiet and coming death. "Yet it is said in Harrowdale," said Eowyn in a low voice, "that in the moonless nights, but little while ago, a great host in strange array passed by. Whence they came, none knew, but they went up the stony road and vanished into the hill, as if they went to keep a tryst." "Then why has Aragorn gone that way?" asked Merry. "Do you know anything that would explain it?" "Unless he has spoken words to you as his friend that we have not heard," said Eomer, "none now in the land of the living can tell his purpose." "Greatly changed he seemed to me since I saw him first in the king's house," said Eowyn. "Grimmer, older, fey I thought him, and like one whom the dead call." "Maybe he was called," said Theoden, "and my heart tells me that I shall not see him again. Yet he is a kingly man of high destiny, and take comfort in this, daughter, since comfort you seem to need in your grief for this guest." Fucking rude. "It is said that when the Eorlingus came out of the north and passed at length up the Snowbourne, seeking strong places of refuge in times of need, Brego and his son Baldur climbed the stair of the hold, and so came before the door. On the threshold sat an old man, aged beyond guess of years. Tall and kingly he had been, but now he was withered as an old stone. Indeed, for stone they took him, for he moved not, and he said no word until they sought to pass him by and enter. And then a voice came out of him, as if it were out of the ground, and to their amaze it spoke in the western tongue. The way is shut. Then they halted and looked at him, and saw that he lived still, but he did not look at them. The way is shut, his voice said again. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it until the time comes. The way is shut. And when will that time be? Said Baldur. But no answer did he ever get, for the old man died in that hour and fell upon his face, and no other tidings of the ancient dwellers in the mountains have our folk ever learned. Yet, maybe at last the time foretold has come, and Aragorn may pass. But how shall a man discover whether that time be come or no, save by daring the door? Said Eomer. And that way I would not go, though all the hosts of Mordor stood before me, and I were alone and had no other refuge. Alas, that a fey mood should fall on a man so great-hearted at this hour of need. Are there not evil tidings enough abroad without seeking them under the earth? War is at hand. He paused, for at that moment there was a noise outside, a man's voice crying the name of Theoden and the challenge of the guard. What is everyone doing for the festive period? Light up the chat. Yo, what up? Haven't seen you in a minute. Thank you for coming. I am trying to get over my sore throat. Day drinking, Indian takeaway, many Christmas movies. That's our tradition. Presently, the captain of the guard thrust aside the curtain. A man is here, lord, he said, an errand rider of Gondor. He wishes to come before you at once. Let him come, said Theoden. A tall man entered, and Merry choked back a cry. For a moment it seemed to him that Boromir was alive again and had returned. Then he saw that it was not so. The man was a stranger, though as like to Boromir as if he were one of his kin, tall and grey-eyed and proud. He was clad as a rider with a cloak of dark green over a coat of fine mail. On the front of his helm was wrought a small silver star. In his hand he bore a single arrow, black-feathered and barbed with steel, but the point was painted red. Oh, lovely. West Valinor / Fresh Prince. It's not Tabla because Tabla's shut tomorrow, but it is Tika in talk, which is the worst name for a restaurant ever, but apparently the food's quite good. He sank on one knee and presented the arrow to Theoden. Hail, Lord of the Rohirrim, friend of Gondor, he said. Hirgon I am, errand rider of Denethor, who bring you this token of war. Gondor is in great need. Often the Rohirrim have aided us, but now the Lord Denethor asks for all your strength and all your speed, lest Gondor fall at last. The red arrow, said Theoden, holding it, as one who receives a summons long expected and yet dreadful when it comes. His hand trembled. The red arrow has not been seen in the mark in all my years. Has it indeed come to that? And what does the Lord Denethor reckon that all my strength and all my speed may be? That is best known to yourself, Lord, said Hirgon, but ere long it may well come to pass that Minas Tirith is surrounded, and unless you have the strength to break a siege of many powers, the Lord Denethor bids me say that he judges that the strong arms of the Rohirrim would be better within his walls than without. Ooh, excuse me. But he knows that we are a people who fight rather upon horseback and in the open, and that we are also a scattered people, and time is needed for the gathering of our riders. Is it not true, Hirgon, that the Lord of Minas Tirith knows more than he sets in his message? For we are already at war, as you may have seen, and you do not find us all unprepared. Gandalf the Grey has been among us, and even now we are mustering for battle in the east. Do you think Gandalf gets annoyed that people keep calling him the Grey when he's clearly the White? What the Lord Denethor may know or guess of all these things I cannot say, answered Hirgon. But indeed our case is desperate. My lord does not issue any command to you. He begs you only to remember old friendship and oaths long spoken, and for your own good to do all that you may. It is reported to us that many kings have ridden in from the east to the service of Mordor. From the north to the field of Dagorlad there is skirmish and rumor of war. In the south the Haradrim are moving, and fear has fallen on all our coastlands so that little help will come to us thence. Make haste, For it is before the walls of Minas Tirith that the doom of our time will be decided, and if the tide be not stemmed there, then it will flow over all the fair fields of Rohan, and even in this hold among the hills there shall be no refuge. Dark tidings, said Theoden, yet not all unguessed, but say to Denethor that even if Rohan itself felt no peril, still we would come to his aid. We have suffered much loss in our battles with Saruman the traitor, and we must still think of our frontier to the north and east, as his own tidings make clear. So great a power as the Dark Lord seems now to wield might well contain us in battle before the city, and yet strike with great force across the river away beyond the Gate of Kings. But we will speak no longer out counsels of prudence. We will come. The weapon take was set for the morrow. When all is ordered, we will set out. 10,000 spears I might have sent riding over the plain to the dismay of your foes. It will be less now, I fear, for I will not leave my strongholds all unguarded. Yet, 6,000 at the least shall ride behind me. For say to Denethor that in this hour the king of the Mark himself will come down to the land of Gondor, though maybe he will not ride back. But it is a long road, and man and beast must reach the end with strength to fight. A week it may be from tomorrow's morn ere you hear the cry of the sons of Errol coming from the north. A week, said Hirgon. If it must be so, it must. But you are like to find only ruined walls in 7 days from now, unless other help unlooked for comes. Still, you may at the least disturb the orcs and swarthy men from their feasting in the White Tower. At the least we will do that, said Theoden, but I myself am new come from battle and long journey, and I will now go to rest. Tarry here this night, then you shall look on the Muster of Rohan and ride away the gladder for the sight, and the swifter for the rest. In the morning counsels are best, and night changes many thoughts. Fucking wise as shit, dog. Let's go. Sleep on it. You got the fear? Sleep on it. With that the king stood up, and they all rose. Go now each to your rest, he said, and sleep well. And you, Master Meriadoc, I need no more tonight, but be ready to my call as soon as the sun is risen. I will be ready, said Mary, even if you bid me ride with you on the paths of the dead. Speak not words of omen, said the king, for there may be more roads than one that could bear that name. He fucking knows, dude. Everybody knows. Like, come on. But I did not say that I would bid you ride with me on any road. Good night. Fucking devastating, dude. Ugh. Gamley, which line? The one about gladder for the sight, swifter for the rest. Night changes many thoughts. That one. So good. I won't be left behind to be called for on return. Yes, very good. I won't be left behind to be called for on return, said Mary. I won't be left. I won't. And repeating this over and over again to himself, he fell asleep at last in his tent. He was wakened by a man shaking him. Wake up, Master Holbitla. 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 It's too many consonants. Holbitla, he cried, and at length Mary came out of deep dreams and sat up with a start. It still seemed very dark, he thought. What is the matter? He asked. The king calls for you. But the sun has not risen yet, said Mary. No, and will not rise today, Master Holbitla, nor ever again, one would think, under this cloud. But time does not stand still, though the sun be lost. Make haste. Flinging on some clothes, Mary looked outside. The world was darkling. The very air seemed brown, and all things about were black and gray and shadowless. There was a great stillness. No shape of cloud could be seen. Yo, what up, Mark Saldehyde? Thank you for joining. You're going to Glen Eagles, Simon. Damn. Lovely. I do think Chris might try and go to your mom's party, so we'll see. Flinging on some clothes, Mary looked outside. The world was darkling. The very air seemed brown, and all things about were black and gray and shadowless. There was a great stillness. No shape of cloud could be seen unless it were far away westward, where the furthest groping fingers of the great gloom still crawled onwards, and a little light leaked through them. Overhead there hung a heavy roof, somber and featureless, and light seemed rather to be failing than growing. Mary saw many folk standing, looking up and muttering. All their faces were gray and sad, and some were afraid. With a sinking heart he made his way to the king. Hirgan the rider of Gondor was there before him, and beside him stood now another man, like him and dressed alike, but shorter and broader. As Mary entered, he was speaking to the king. "It comes from Mordor, lord," he said. "It began last night at sunset. From the hills to the eastfold of your realm I saw it rise and creep across the sky, and all night as I rode it came behind, eating up the stars. Now the great cloud hangs over all the land between here and the mountains of shadow, and it is deepening. War has already begun." I love bromance so much. Like, I have a thing where, like, don't introduce me to your sister or your girlfriend because I'm going to steal her from you. My husband has the same thing, but with men. It's called being bi icons. For a while, the king sat silent. At last, he spoke. "So we come to it in the end," he said, "the great battle of our time, in which many things shall pass away. But at least there is no longer need for hiding. We will ride the straight way and the open road and with all our speed. The muster shall begin at once, and wait for none that tarry. Have you a good store in Minas Tirith? For if we must ride now in all haste, then we must ride light, with but meal and water enough to last us into battle." "We have very great store long prepared," answered Hirgon. "Ride now as light and swift as you may." "Then call the heralds, Eomer," said Theoden. "Let the riders be marshalled." Eomer went out, and presently the trumpets rang in the hold and were answered by many others from below, but their voices no longer sounded clear and brave as they had seemed to Mary the night before. Dull they seemed and harsh in the heavy air, braying ominously. The king turned to Mary. "I am going to war, Master Meriadoc," he said. "In a little while I shall take the road. I release you from my service, but not from my friendship. You shall abide here, and if you will, you shall serve the Lady Eowyn, who will govern the folk in my stead." But, but, Lord," Mary stammered, "I offered you my sword. I do not want to be parted I do not want to be parted from you like this, King Theoden King. And as all my friends have gone to the battle, I should be ashamed to stay behind." "But we ride on horses tall and swift," said Theoden, "and great though your heart be, you cannot ride on such beasts." "Then tie me onto the back of one, or let me hang on a stirrup or something," said Mary. "It's a long way to run, but run I shall if I cannot ride, even if I wear my feet off and arrive weeks too late." Theoden smiled. "Rather than that I would bear you with me on Snowmane," he said, "but at the least you shall ride with me to Edoras and look on Meduseld, for that way I shall go. So far Stibba can bear you. The great race will not begin till we reach the plains." Then Eowyn rose up. "Come now, Meriadoc," she said. "I will show you the gear that I've prepared for you." They went out together. "This request only did Aragorn make to me," said Eowyn, as they passed among the tents, "that you should be armed for battle." Really cute that Aragorn's like, "Hey, can you do me a quick favor, though, and get my little friend all geared up? That'd be sick. Thank you." "I have granted it as I could, for my heart tells me that you will need such gear ere the end." Now she led Mary to a booth among the lodges of the king's guard, and there an armorer brought out to her a small helm and a round shield and other gear. "No mail have we to fit you," said Eowyn, "nor any time for the forging of such a hauberk. But here is also a stout jerkin of leather, a belt, and a knife. A sword you have." Mary bowed, and the lady showed him the shield, which was like the shield that she had given to Gimli, and it bore on it the device of the white horse. "Take all these things," she said, "and bear them to good fortune. Farewell now, Master Meriadoc. Yet maybe we shall meet again, you and I." Ooh, foreshadowing is a literary device. So it was that amid a gathering gloom the king of the Mark made ready to lead all his riders on the eastward road. Hearts were heavy, and many quailed in the shadow, but they were a stern people, loyal to their lord, and little weeping or murmuring was heard, even in the camp and the hold where the exiles from Edoras were housed, women and children and old men. Doom hung over them, but they faced it silently. 2 swift hours passed, and now the king sat upon his white horse, glimmering in the half-light. Proud and tall he seemed, though the hair that flowed beneath his high helm was like snow, and many marveled at him and took heart to see him unbent and unafraid. There on the wide flats beside the noisy river were marshaled in many companies, well nigh 55 hundreds of riders, fully armed, and many hundreds of other men with spare horses lightly burdened. A single trumpet sounded. The king raised his hand, and then silently the host of the mark began to move. Foremost went 12 of the king's household men, riders of renown. Then the king followed with Eomer on his right. He'd said farewell to Eowyn above in the hold, and the memory was grievous. But now he turned his mind to the road that lay ahead. Behind him, Merry rode on Stibba with the errand riders of Gondor, and behind them again 12 more of the king's household. They passed down the long ranks of waiting men with stern and unmoved faces. But when they'd come almost to the end of the line, one looked up, glancing keenly at the hobbit. A young man, Merry thought, as he returned the glance, less in height and girth than most. He caught the glint of clear gray eyes, and then he shivered, for it came suddenly to him that it was the face of one without hope, who goes in search of death. And kind of like a baddie, like a little bit of a hottie, I think. On down the grey road they went beside the snowbourne rushing on its stones, through the hamlets of Underharrow and Upbourne, where many sad faces of women looked out from dark doors. And so without horn or harp or music of men's voices, the great ride into the east began, with which the songs of Rohan were busy for many long lives of men thereafter. From dark Dunharrow in dim morning, with Thane and Captain rode Thangel's son, to Edoras he came, the ancient halls of the Mark Wardens mist enshrouded. Golden timbers were in gloom mantled. Farewell he bade to his free people, hearth and high seat and the hallowed places, where long he had feasted ere the light faded. Forth rode the king, fear behind him, fate before him. Fealty kept he, oaths he had taken, all fulfilled them. Forth rode Theoden, 5 nights and days, east and onward rode the Eorlingus, through Fold and Fenmarch and the Firian wood, 6,000 spears to Sunlending, Mundburg the mighty under Mindalluin, Sea King city in the South Kingdom, foe beleaguered, fire encircled. Doom drove them on. Darkness took them. Horse and horseman, hoofbeats afar sank into silence. So the songs tell us. Yeah, I really wish I was better at my old English meters. I don't know shit about fuck. I know iambic pentameter, and that's it. And like slam poetry. Oh, what if I did these poems at slam poetry night? I think that might go off a little bit. It was indeed in deepening gloom that the king came to Edoras, although it was then but noon by the hour. There he halted only a short while, and strengthened his host by some 60 of riders that came late to the weapon take. Now, having eaten, he made ready to set out again, and he wished his esquire a kindly farewell. But Mary begged for the last time not to be parted from him. "This is no journey for steeds such as Stibba, as I have told you," said Theoden. "And in such a battle as we think to make on the fields of Gondor, what would you do, Master Meriadoc, sword thane though you be, and greater of heart than of stature?" "As for that, who can tell?" answered Mary. "But why, Lord, did you receive me as sword thane, if not to stay by your side? And I would not have it said of me in song only that I was always left behind." "I received you for your safekeeping," answered Theoden, "and also to do as I might bid. None of my riders can bear you as burden. If the battle were before my gates, maybe your deeds would be remembered by the minstrels. But it is 100 leagues and 2 to Mundburg, where Denethor is lord. I will say no more." Mary bowed and went away unhappily, and stared at the lines of horsemen. Already the companies were preparing to start. Men were tightening girths, looking to saddles, caressing their horses. Some gazed uneasily at the lowering sky. Unnoticed, a rider came up and spoke softly in the hobbit's ear. "Where will wants not, a way opens, so we say," he whispered, "and so I have found myself." Mary looked up and saw that it was the young rider whom he'd noticed in the morning. "You wish to go whither the Lord of the Mark goes. I see it in your face." "I do," said Mary. "Then you shall go with me," said the rider. "I will bear you before me." Mm. Mm. "Oh Lord, she come in. Middle Earth's first and only drag king." Then you shall go with me, said the rider. I will bear you before me under my cloak until we are far afield, and this darkness is yet darker. Such good will should not be denied. Say no more to any man, but come. Any man. Thank you indeed, said Mary. Thank you, sir, though I do not know your name. Do you not? Said the rider softly. Then call me Durnhelm. Thus it came to pass that when the king set out, before Durnhelm sat Meriadoc the hobbit, and the great grey steed Windfilla made little of the burden, for Durnhelm was less in weight than many men, though lithe and well knit in frame. On into the shadow they rode. In the willow thickets where Snowborn flowed into Entwash, 12 leagues east of Edoras, they camped that night. Yo, what up, Neil? Everybody go under the cloak with Durnhelm. It's safe in there. And then on again through the fold, and through the fen march, where to their right great oak woods climbed on the skirts of the hills under the shades of dark Halfirion by the borders of Gondor. But away to their left the mists lay on the marshes fed by the mouths of Entwash. And as they rode, rumor came of war in the north. Lone men, riding wild, brought word of foes assailing their east borders, of orc hosts marching in the wold of Rohan. Ride on, cried Eomer. Too late now to turn aside. The fens of Entwash must guard our flank. Haste now we need. Ride on. And so King Theoden departed from his own realm, and mile by mile the long road wound away, and the beacon hills marched past. Calenad, Minrimon, Erelas, Nardol. But their fires were quenched. All the lands were grey and still, and ever the shadow deepened before them, and hope waned in every heart. Oof. Rough stuff. Everyone is bummed the fuck out. Aragorn's gone, so everyone's like, what hope do we have? Not very much. And then I enjoy the little bits where the writers smile to see the Hobbit on his little shaggy gray pony and the Lord of Rohan. Like, this is a theme that shows up all the time that SH actually pointed out to me, that lots of characters, lots of non-Hobbit characters look at hobbits as like a source of hope and a source of like joy, and they kind of have this like, oh, well, if that little dude is here doing whatever he can, I might as well also do my best. It's really wonderful, and it shows up a lot in Rohan and then also in Gondor with Pippin and Baragond. The foreshadowing of Theoden's death is fucking heavy-handed, dude. I've never really noticed before, but every time they talk about Theoden coming back, they're like, I don't know. Doesn't really seem like he's going to be coming back from this one, and he seems to be looking forward to an honorable death on the battlefield. So I'm going to leave it there for today because my voice is about to completely die. And yeah, stubby is stubby. In Old English. Thank you, Anna. It's so cute. Like, what a silly little name for a little shaggy gray pony. Hi, I'm Stubbs. Oh, so precious. And yeah, I like that Eowyn kind of sees in Mary that like people doubt him the same way that they doubt her. All they want to do is fight for their friends, and no one seems to want to let them do that because Eowyn's a woman and Mary is a little guy. And what could they possibly do? Oops, whoops, turns out, spoiler alert, they can do a lot. So I like that she, as Durnhelm, kind of gets Mary in the mix. And also it's very funny that Mary like doesn't recognize her at all, but he can read her face and her vibe. Like when she shows up, or when they show up to Dunharrow rather, and she's like, hey, what up, with her helm and her armor on. And Mary can tell like all is not well. Like she's in a bad mood. She's upset because Aragorn's gone, and she knows that everyone's going to tell her that she can't ride to battle. So just a lot going on in here, and really laying the nice groundwork and foundation for Mary and Eowyn's friendship. And this is also where, if you ship Mary and Eowyn, this is where you get all your material from. But yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Christmas Eve. Thank you for coming. Mary's definitely an ally. He's like the number one ally for sure. Oh, yay, we're festive. I probably could have worn a more festive shirt, but I like the Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely Christmas. I hope Santa brings you everything you wanted. If you're looking to make any charitable donations this holiday season, hit up MS Trust. They're great and they're very close to my heart personally. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming and joining me today. I'm going to go have some tea with honey in it and have a lovely Christmas tomorrow. And I will hopefully be back next week with another chapter. I'll let you know when that's happening. But yeah, happy Crimbus. Merry Chrysler. Merry Crisis.